On today's lesson, I'm going to teach you how to play consistent offense while still keeping your errors relatively low throughout the match. So let's get started. If you follow my channel, you know the quickest path to improving and winning more matches is to reduce errors, and my Stokey sixes are the biggest culprits. Those are double faults, missed returns, missed plus ones, ground strokes in the net, ground strokes wide, and change of direction errors. But one thing I'm slowly learning is because I preach consistency and minimizing errors, that players think I'm against offense, which I'm simply not. I don't hate offense, I just hate missing. And when most amateur adult players try to play more offense, they just pick risky targets and end up missing more. So the first way I would encourage you to add offense to your game while still keeping the errors low is by using your first serve effectively. It is a free shot. You can miss it and still start the point over. So it makes a ton of sense to try to set yourself offensively with your first serve. A lot of winners that you're going to see in pro tennis are either directly from the serve, so an ace, or they generate such a weak return that it's an easy, safe +1 winner for the server. This allows the player to hit a bunch of winners, but they're still choosing responsible targets. They don't have to hit close to the line because the serve has opened up the court. So let's take a look at some of my footage from the BMP so we can see how some of these pros use their first serves to set up offense. All right, so we're going to be using examples from Pegula and Svitolina's singles match at the BMP. I got to sit right behind the court. You know Pegula is one of my favorite players, and I want you to see how she uses her first serve to set up the offense. So good tee serve there, short ball, and a forehand cross-court winner. Now, one thing I always want you guys to pay attention to is look where this ball lands for the winner. That is a very safe target. That is a ton of margin. I would guess that's about 5 feet from the singles sideline. So again, people think that to hit a winner, you have to hit close to the lines. You don't. You have to take the ball early sometimes, but she created an opening and a weakness with her first serve. So now we got Svitolina doing the same thing. Let's see how she uses her serve, opens up the court, creates a weak return, and then she hammers this ball for a winner. And again, she's hitting a winner. She's playing offense. Look where the ball lands. So safe. I mean, that is, honestly, it's closer to the middle than it is the sideline. And yes, it's a super easy shot, but that's what we're talking about. We're using this first serve out wide. It's a free shot to create opportunities to play offense where we can come up and hit to very, very responsible, safe targets and still be consistent, reduce errors, but also forcing the action with winners like this. So as you're watching these pro matches all summer long, pay attention. How many of these things come from good first serves like this where the court is opened up? Again, we have a great wide serve. We get Svitolina outside the court. By the time Pegula is playing, look how much court she has to hit into. I honestly don't think she hit her target. I think she was probably aiming a little bit more to the middle. And that difficulty of changing directions is why it's even close to the line. That's about 3-4 feet. There's nothing risky about that. She is not in danger of missing very often, but that first serve set her up outside the court, creates a ton of space. So again, she's taking the ball early. She's forcing the issue. She's playing offense without really risking unforced errors. One serve people don't think about using is the body serve, and it can still be a great way to create some offense. So right here, we got a second serve, backhand body, a very responsible approach shot, and then a swing volley behind. Now again, when you look at this body serve, it works into the hip of Pegula, so she has to throw herself outside the doubles alley. She's off balance, and now Svitolina can hit this ball on the rise, and again, theme, look where that ball is landing. 5 feet from the singles line, no threat of missing the ball, and then we get the swing volley, and again, as you get closer and closer to the net, you can hit faster and a little bit more angle because you're up in the court. And our last example here for how that first serve opens everything up. Look at that wide serve. We get a floating return middle of the court. Again, we can play responsible target, a responsible target, and honestly, a very average volley that ends up being a winner. So when we look at this return, look at the court Svitolina has to play to. Look at her target. That is like splitting the ad court in half. Zero danger of missing, but still accomplishing offense. Then she gets the swing volley. Where does this ball land? Middle of the box. Honestly, closer to the middle than the sideline, but still responsible target. And then she gets a last volley, and instead of trying to crush it, she just feels it. And again, this splits the middle of the box. So that is 3 straight offensive shots where we're hitting a winner, forcing the action, but not risking missing. The second way I would recommend setting up more offense would be off second serve returns. So most players serve their second serve quite slow, and we know it has to be short because it has to land in the service box, which makes it a very attackable ball. You can step up in the court, rip big, but still aim to big targets so we're keeping our errors in check and set up offensive situations. So let's take a look at what this looks like with some of these same pros. All right, so let's see how Svitolina uses a second serve opportunity to create offense. She rips this ball deep down the middle, gets a real short ball, and then she can step up and hit her winner. So again, the beginning of this is a very, very safe target. She's ripping, she's on her front foot, but she's hitting this ball right down the middle. She is not going to miss wide. She is not going to miss net. Yes, occasionally she'll miss deep, but not that often. So she creates the short ball, and now she can get inside the baseline. And for a pro, hitting this ball about 2 feet isn't really that risky. That's about as slow and as room service as it gets. Now let's take a look at Pegula on her second serve return here. And you can see she takes it early and rips this winner down the line. Now, a couple things about this return. It's a second serve, so you know that I like this. This is a great chance to create some offense without risking missing. Look at the angle on the ball she's hitting. It's actually moving towards the middle. It's almost like she's getting around the outside and hitting it on a cross-court angle, even though it's down the line. The second thing is look where we land, right there. I mean, that is not risky for a pro. If you're a 3-0, that's probably still a little risky, but look at the winner, look at the offense we're playing. Svitolina's not even moving for it just because we took it early. So you're picking that safe target on the second serve return. Svitolina went middle, Pegula went line. They're not in danger of missing, and they're still forcing the issue, which is necessary from time to time. So now I'm going to give you 2 examples of what I think irresponsible offense looks like. And this is what I see when I'm looking at amateurs play every day at my club. They're choosing small targets and they're trying to play offense from neutral situations. And because it's just really difficult for a pro or an amateur, all that's going to lead to is more Stokey 6 errors and more losing. So let's take a look at what offense that's not repeatable looks like even for pros. So now I'm going to show you offense that I don't think is repeatable and I think will lead to a lot of missing. So we're going to watch this point. There's going to be a decent rally here back and forth. They're still using big margins in the beginning, which I absolutely love because they're trying to reduce errors. They're smart players. They're pros. Okay, very good shot from Svitolina. Good cross-court defense from Pegula. A simple change. Another big target right there. And then this down the line winner. I have no idea how this ball went in. I have seen this ball miss in this particular match probably 20 times between the two of them, right? That type of offense is not repeatable. She's behind the baseline. Svitolina is not out of position. It's a huge risk and probably why she ended up going so close to the line. And I mean, that catches 1/16 of the line right there. I mean, that could easily be out. So while this is offensive, this is the type of offense I see amateurs trying to play. And yes, you do need to play offense sometimes, and it can work sometimes. But if you're making decisions like this, it's not going to work out well for you in the long run. And last example, when people are watching pro tennis, this is the type of stuff that they remember. I mean, that is absolutely absurd. That's a good wide serve and an absolute hammer cross-court return just inside the line. Now, sticking with the theme, that is not repeatable. She is going to miss that return so often. But when you see a pro do this, you think they're capable of doing that all the time. And honestly, even some of you guys try that shot. So while this is offense, and this did work on this particular occasion, this is also why you might miss 4 or 5 returns and end up losing matches with Stokey 6 errors. So hopefully this gives you an idea of how I would sprinkle in offense into my game while still focusing on reducing errors, which ultimately is what's going to make you play your best tennis and win more matches. So use your first serve as a weapon, look for opportunities to attack the second serve, but above all else, keep your targets huge so you're reducing your Stokey 6s and winning more matches.